Okay, next is the efficiency ratios, or also known as the activity ratio. Okay, activity ratio. Alright, so this ratio is used to determine the efficiency of the firm in using its asset to generate sales. So kita nak tengok how efficient the company, okay, in using their assets to generate ataupun to turn their asset into sales. So these ratios will indicate whether the assets are too low, too high, or reasonable for the firm's current and projected operating level. So they show the amount of sales generated from every dollar of asset investment. Okay, so to measure the efficiency ratio, we can calculate the account receivable turnover, inventory turnover, ITO, fixed asset turnover, FATO, and total asset turnover, TATO. Okay, let's have a look at the ratio one by one. Okay, so number one is the account receivable turnover. Okay, so this is the ratio of the number of times that the account receivable amount is collected through the year. Okay, alright, so it shows how many times the firm turnover is account receivable in a year. So kita tengok how many times they can collect, okay, their account receivable. So a low ratio shows that the firm are not efficient in using the account receivable to generate sale, and a very high ratio shows that the firm are efficient in using its account receivable to generate sales. Okay, so sometimes a high ratio implies either that a company operates on a cash basis, alright, and that its extension of credit and collection of accounts receivable is efficient. Okay. And then the low ratio implies the company should reassess its credit policies in order to ensure the timely collection, alright, or imparted credit that is not earning interest, okay, for the firm. Alright, so the ideal ratio is high ratio is favorable, okay. So maksudnya kita boleh collect many times, okay, our receivable. And then the decision rule is the higher the better. Okay, so this is the formula to calculate the account receivable turnover. Okay, which is sales, we divide it by the average account receivable. Okay, next is inventory turnover. Okay, it's related to the inventory management, and it shows how many times the firm turnover its inventories in a year. Okay, so a low ratio shows that the firm maintains too much inventories, lambat jual, so that's why they have to maintain too much inventories. And then a very high ratio shows that the firm maintains too few inventories. Okay, so the ideal ratio is high ratio is favorable. Okay, and the decision rule, but not too high. Why? Okay, because when you possess a high amount of inventory for long periods of time, it's not usually good for business because of the inventory storage, and it can become obsolete, or the spoilage cost. However, if the company possesses too little inventory, isn't good either, because the business runs the risk of losing out of potential sales and potential market share as well. Okay, and then the formula to calculate the inventory turnover is equal to COGS, okay, divided by the average inventory. Okay, next is the fixed asset turnover, FATO. So it shows the effectiveness of the company in using the fixed asset to generate sales. Okay, maksudnya dia ada building, dia ada machinery plant. Are they efficient enough to use all of the fixed asset to generate sales? So it shows the amount of sales generated from RM1 ringgit investment in fixed asset. Okay, so the higher ratio is favorable. And then this is the formula to calculate the fixed asset turnover. Okay, we calculate the sales to be divided by the fixed assets. Okay, and then the total asset turnover, TATO. And this one shows the effectiveness of the company in using the total assets to generate sales. Okay, so this one shows the amount of sales generated from RM1 investment in assets. So this one is same with the FATO. The higher ratio is better or more favorable. So to calculate TATO, we divided the sales with the total assets.